What is going on, guys? Summer World from Summer Woman Touches here, back with another top 10 video take. Continuing on with my Survivor review series. Videos I've been doing lately. Hope you all been enjoying it. And as for today's Survivor video, I'm now here to talk about what are my top 10 worst seasons of Survivor. Yeah, also I was gonna do an updated ranking, but I just thought it would have been more fun to actually do like an actual top 10 best and an actual top 10 worst. I thought it would make for a fun video, not just like best worst of the U.S. seasons, but also all the international seasons I've seen from the Australia, UK, South Africa, and New Zealand seasons I've seen. Like which ones I think are just not so good, honestly, because I don't think we have like so many seasons. So obviously there probably be some seasons that are just not so great. Although that's what it's about today. So I hope y'all enjoyed this little time video. Let me know what seasons that you didn't like. Let me know which are your least favorite surrounding seasons down below in the comment section. Let me know which ones that you did not like and you don't enjoy watching the most. And hey, as much as I love Survivor, there definitely are those seasons. So let me know down below. Anyways, so let's get to the video. But before we actually do get to the top 10, let's get into the top mentions. So, while some seasons I do not really hate, honestly, the other seasons that honestly I'm still on the low end on my side ranking. So let's get to 10 seasons that I would say I still do not enjoy, honestly. And those seasons are Survivor UK Season 1, Still Let Me Survivor Fan I Want To, Game Changers, Quebec Season 1, All Stars Season 8, 41, Ghost Island, New Zealand Season 1, AU All Stars, and Australian Survivor All Stars, and Australian Survivor Justin 2, the very first season. That's literally the most forgettable season of all time. Those are my honorable mentions. And now, coming in at number 10, the 10th worst Survivor season, in my opinion. I don't say it's like, darn awful, but still not a good season, and that is Bump Challenge. Spoiler, you definitely will see some of the Dark Hero seasons to be on this list, because I think a lot of Dark Hero seasons are going to be on this list, because, there's a reason why it's called the Dark Hero Survivor, because, seasons were not that great. And that challenge, fortunately, one of them. Now, honestly, if you guys saw my episode ranking Dark Hero, obviously, there definitely were still some good episodes. Like, obviously, the merge episode and the premium, I think the premium episode actually topped that list, actually. And there definitely are some good season players into these personalities here, but obviously, basically just Boss Rob's show, which, Boss Rob is a fantastic character, and this probably is, in my opinion, the best Boss Rob's best appearance, honestly. But it's more than everyone else just it's like I don't know, talk about the Rob that just makes the merge just so boring and so tedious. Even after Santana gets boom 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 boom, you kind of know who's always going to get about that anyway. So it's kind of just not me. It's not. And aside from the map line sides in the first episode, there's not really any true interesting moments. Them trying to go with Russell was definitely pretty interesting, and the pre-match itself is actually not that bad, honestly, but it's really the post-match that really sinks the season down. And, and I'll say this, I do not have an issue with Redemption, honestly. I don't actually have a real problem with the actual twist itself. I can say they were trying to do something different here. I think it's more execution-wise that made it not as interesting as it could have been. I think they elevated a lot more in Blood vs. Water. But here is just kind of whatever. And that's what season is. Just whatever. I don't think I care as much as some people do, but still not a good season. And now from one Dark Area Season 2, another at number 9, and that is Nicaragua. It's also a season that out there in a way I kind of wish I enjoyed more, honestly, because I know this season has kind of got a little bit of a cold following lately. At least I know some people that want this is one of the best. It's one that has got a lot more enjoyment in recent years. But even after rewatching the season, well, in my opinion, they kind of went up a bit. It's still not a good season. It's a season that doesn't have any true standout aspects to it. There definitely are some standout aspects to it, like it does have some cast members like I did do enjoy more rewatch, like Marty and Brenda and Fabio, even Chase and Satch have their moments. If you do get some fun moments here today, Wendy like pretty much just decided not to talk and then basically back to not to talk on Trump Council and basically talk stuff out of the game. Be probably the worst play of all time. That's definitely hilarious for sure. And it definitely have some decent fun moments here and there. And the Mario Topic Council and the Brenda Blinds are really fun. There's a double quid too, which is kind of hilarious for all the wrong reasons. But again, most of the cast is just kind of there, forgettable, bland, uninteresting. most of the time councils are also just bland and uninteresting, and don't even start Shannon and the whole medallion power thing they introduced that was so bad they decided to get rid of the freaking swap. But yeah, it's just a season that just doesn't really anything that really sticks out of it, honestly. Again, it's one I wish I enjoyed a little more because I feel like some people do enjoy more than I do. But it's just season 9 doesn't. It's just mostly boring. And now at number 8. Yeah, another season that, well, it kind of also got a little bit of cult following lately, honestly. A lot of people seem to enjoy for, I don't like reasons, but it's one I never really enjoyed even when I watched it, and that is Worlds Apart. Definitely one of the more disappointing seasons of the show. I think I might make that another video at some point, talk about surrounding seasons that are just disappointing. But Worlds Apart, it definitely is a disappointing season. All the most had to have some of the worst people that would be on the show. You know, Dan, Rodney, and other players that said some really sexist stuff, obviously. And there's definitely also positives. Like I'll say, I'll say this. Aside from my number one, every other season has at least like some positives I can say about it. Even the war season have at least a few good positives and a few good aspects to them that I can say are actually good. Which is probably why even his war season still has its moments. But we'll get there. When we get there, and we'll talk to him about obviously, the whole arc with Mike Holloway doing the murder. Honestly, he's definitely very compelling television. Even if it's an obvious win, it's very compelling work, obviously. Carolyn has her moments as well. Haley and Jen are like fun characters. Joe's okay here. This still his like, best appearance in my opinion. Yeah, the Joaquin Blindside was very fun and hilarious as well. There are some fun moments. And then Vince was also a fun pre-merger as well. Aside from that though, not much I can really say about the actual cast itself. Not any true like standout moments. Maybe aside from the whole Mike, having basically be on the bottom at the final night of when he did the auction and everything and all the back and forth that goes beyond that. It's just not really that interesting and not really that compelling. And again, also people acting pretty terribly, and then that Wall Street thing at moments. Mm. And just people being sexist and people just saying stuff like, I don't, a lot of people have our enjoyment with Dan or other characters, but I just never found enjoyment in any of them, unfortunately. Honestly, it's just, like you look at the dark comedy, maybe some people, and I know some people look at the dark comedy, honestly, if you think about it. But even then, I never found that really funny, honestly. I never found any much enjoyment watching Worlds Apart. I feel like it's going to be a season that's going to continue to get worse to me as time goes on. But right now, number 8, I think it's the girls' golf. Again, Mike we at least get a satisfying win by the end. And now at number 7, another Dark Era season makes the list. Surprise, surprise. And for a little, I'm also going to include number 6 as well, with number 7 being Caramoan and number 6 being South Pacific. Let's talk about Caramoan first. Again, they're basically trying to emulate the excellence of the fans versus favorite season, which obviously, spoiler, when we get to my best list, is probably going to be on that list. Which honestly, that season is still highly remembered and for good reason. Caramoan, he doesn't win a lot less than most because the fans aren't really fans, and their favorites are like, oh, you bring back Philip, you bring back Andrea, you bring back freaking Dawn, you bring back a first boom freaking Jessica. I think that's because obviously they wanted to emulate the whole like Philip and Francesca thing from that first episode with Redemption Island. Like, you can kind of tell they really wanted to really emulate that. Obviously, it didn't work as well as they thought it would, honestly, but it was kind of fun, honestly, for what we had on it. But yeah, TMN probably in the debate of having the worst pre-match in the show's history. That's really what more just not much really happens rather pretty much. It has some of those boring episodes of all time. And maybe aside from the premiere, and of course the whole thing with Brandon Hands as well, just and again a lot of the fans are just whatever I guess here and just not that interesting unfortunately. Like maybe also aside from like Cherry, Eddie, and Reynolds. Not much to say about the fans on even from the favorites are not much to say about them either, unfortunately. We do get some fun moments with them. We do get some fun blindsides in the merge with the Korean blindside and of course the Ambiguous Tribal they actually get out Philip. I remember like being so happy they finally got out Philip here as well. But some of the favorites end up being kind of disappointing. Obviously, McDonald was fine here. Eric and Brenda end up coming matches disappointments. Like I totally really forgot how underrated those two end up being until my rewatching this season. Which also, having Eric basically being from fan to a favorite would have been an incredible storyline. Like, if storyline that really writes itself, I mean, it makes it the same placement, but it's like, it just gets mostly evacuated. And Brenda was just kind of there. aside from her emotional burnout, she just doesn't. And aside from her emotional burnout, her like series Dawn's routine, she doesn't really end up doing much for the season, which again is pretty disappointing. So yeah, and then we get South Pacific, which is another season that people have seemed to grow on. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people, and that's because the whole like, cult aspect just really gets under my nerves. Honestly, most of the cast are just kind of whatever. Like there are definitely fun moments, obviously. I still like Coach as a character. I definitely grown on Sophie as a winner as time goes on. After her appearance at Winners Award, and I think Judge plays a lot better than people give her credit for. Actually, and so our players have some good moments. Like Ozzy, still Ozzy, obviously. Also, Cochrane's also a great player here as well. It's fortunate that Cochrane ends up making my bottom 10 on both of these seasons. I do love Cochrane on this season, and I thought he was definitely a predictable but satisfying win in Karamoan. Though it's also unfair how they actually treated him. And of course, there are some solid episodes, like especially with the Double Agent episode, that I think is pretty great. Stuff like that, though, it's just kind of boring, kind of interesting, and also Stacey has also grown on me a little bit. The whole like Benjamin H. Dad Don't You Know, which is still hilarious. So there's definitely a few aspects that have grown on me in South Pacific over time. But as a whole, it's just a season that's just, and it also has like the Violent Eater tribes, honestly, which is also pretty cool. But again, it's just a season that just didn't find much enjoyment on my rewatch, unfortunately. Whether from the cast or just the whole like whole aspect to it. It does. We do have a satisfying ending, obviously, and a really great finale with Coach just losing and Sophie taking advantage of that. But some of that's just not much to really write home about. Now I'm gonna say this: you can have a great plate of food that is so delicious, so moist, and so good, but then you can have like one terrible thing added to it, and it just ruins the entire thing, even if you enjoyed it before. The reason I say that, I explained it right, but I'm saying that that's basically the best place for my number 5, which is Island of the Idols. So what it actually does have a lot more positive aspects. Probably has the most positive aspects of any season on this list. Like theoretically, it should be like in the middle of my overall ranking. The thing that obviously really brings the season down is well the whole Dean's funeral situation. It proves that one singular moment, no matter how good things were beforehand, no matter because aside from like the Tom episode, the pretty much actually was pretty solid. Sound like again, can't bring that. You do get overall pretty solid cast. You do get some pretty good characters. Overall, like Janet, Lauren, Dean, Nora. Nora especially, that is might be an all-time great character. Elaine has her moments. Karishma has her moments. Jamal has his moments as well. I definitely loved Kelly throughout the pre-merge. Even if the fun pre-merge is like with Molly, Vince, and Chelsea as well, with Hotel Blindside being just so why? Been the best one. But even Jason Down had a fun blindside. And the whole Jack episode as well was pretty good as well. I think that's the only episode that really made my own mentions in my 33 for 40 list. But again, that whole situation where, I'm not even going to bring his name up again, really soured this season. Like, it really just sounds like even the pre-match is not as fun, honestly, when you really just think about it. Yeah, it's that bad. Even after that, the pretty much the post-match itself is just kind of boring and not that interesting. I mean, maybe aside from Missy getting blindsided for no reason. But yeah, and again, that whole situation, honestly, it's just not that fun, honestly. And they really soured on a lot of seasons where, I mean, one of the moments was terrible I watched, honestly. Again, after rewatching the season, I'm like, yeah, I can never know see why people had this as a mom 2 season, just for this moment. Which was honestly, it was actually kind of fun beforehand. And then, even then, when you actually look back at some of the fun moments, you're like, okay, that guy was there. And it really sounds on that. What's also going to help is that obviously Janet, who basically was the one actually trying to help Kelly, the one that actually had the best chance of winning the season, and them getting voted up by all no fire. Now, I'm not complaining about Tommy winning, obviously. The combination of the fact that he got voted out when he was the only person not voted out on the Idols, and also probably one of the most boring winners of all time. So that's sour a little bit. And also why I didn't enjoy the whole Island Idols twist, obviously, during the first half. Didn't really enjoy much in the second half. Especially with that whole, like, Jamal, having Jamal, which I still feel so bad for Jamal. So yeah, I can finally see why people consider this to be a bomb tier season. And now at number 4, Well, we actually get to the first international season here. We're finally getting to a couple international seasons on this list. Even international is not safe for being terrible. And we get actually the worst Australian Survivor season. And that is Australian Survivor Blood for Slaughter. It's a season that when I watched it, I never actually hated, honestly, or didn't like. But the more I thought about it, the more I looked back on the season, I'm like, yeah, this season kind of sucks. Again, like door seasons, there are some positives, obviously. Sandra Diaz Twine is just still a fantastic presence. It's probably her best Day 16 appearance. Her daughter Nia was a great presence here as well. There are definitely some fun characters like with Jordy as well. But the problem this season, honestly, that it demonstrates a lot of the issues that were plaguing Australian Survivor during this time, whether it be with the poor editing, to where a lot of players are just invisible and don't even get any confessionals in that Brood episode. Like a lot of people don't get confessionals in that Brood episodes in this season. I mean, just look at one player that doesn't get confessional to the freaking merge. Tell the freaking merge, which is freaking insane. That's just how so lopsided the edit here, obviously. And honestly, you can tell from the first episode that either Mark or Sam are going to win this season. Probably more likely Mark, honestly, but you can tell that one of them were going to win this season. Which that's always been an issue for Australian survivors. They're like, they're lopsided editing and they're like over editing on the actual winners. But it is definitely more egregious here, obviously, and then what happened towards that basically just feel like it was just to pad out the season. Like with that purgatory twist in the merge, I'm like, you twists are really getting too far, man, Australian Survivor. And I imagine most of the players are just kind of there, kind of boring, kind of uninteresting. And you don't really care for a lot of them. More, of course, there are some occasional good jump guns, like with the third beat, obviously. There's not really much to say, honestly, beyond that, honestly. Like, maybe you get a couple emotional moments, you get a couple heartwarming moments, and a couple of fun moments here and there. But they're very few and far between. I mean, there's not really much positive I can really say about the season. It just drags, it's boring, it's uninteresting. So the Blood for One doesn't really add much aspects to the season, maybe aside from Nia voting out her mom Sandra, and then in KJ voting for Sophie. Except for that, not really much. Not really much elevates it, honestly. And there definitely was good players, obviously, in the season, but some of them are just plain boring here. Like Mark's probably one of the most boring winners of all time. Like I didn't actually realize how boring Mark was, honestly, until I watched this season. I'm like, yeesh. Now I can finally see why people don't like this season, obviously. I really didn't hate that much when I first watched it. But again, the more I thought about it, the more like, yeah, Ava's Water sucks, honestly. And I'm definitely at least happy Australian Survivor is definitely on a good trajectory after this season. How long those seasons are probably going to be in my best list, honestly. I do. So yeah, say I am happy that Australian Survivor is at least on the right direction after this season, with having a lot of good seasons where even if they still do have the issues with their lopsided editing and their predictable winners, it's at least on the right trajectory at least they're not bombarding us with twists and everything that really bring down the season. So I'll give it that. Okay, now at number three and number two, these two seasons I always go back and forth which one's worse. Honestly, honestly, both these are US seasons. With number three being Survivor Wonderworld, and number two being Survivor Thailand. For me, these two seasons have always been definitive worst US seasons. Spoiler alert, my number one's actually international season, but yeah, these are my two definitive worst US seasons of Survivor. The two Survivor seasons I think are just flat out terrible and awful. And it's for good reason, which first off, it's about One World, which fun enough thing so One World, yeah, that's where I actually got my One World name from actually. Obviously I have more personal reasons to why I call it One World, but I got the actual name for it from this season. Which fortunately that's honestly one of the worst seasons of Survivor, which again is pretty now unfortunate if you really think about it. Which again, it's kind of unfortunate if you actually really think about it, but yeah. But One World, like I don't need to say much about it, honestly, has some of the worst players really, Alicia and Colton to be on Survivor. Kim is probably the most predictable winner of all time, or being the most dominant winner of all time. Definitely not, but even when you dominate, it's not going to be entertaining. The One World twist is pretty much a waste, obviously. A lot of players are just not fun to watch. Troy's and fun characters. Some of the girls carry out the moment to get the engagement on Blindside. I still laugh out loud about the guys that actually gave up immunity, actually. That actually did happen, by the way. But yeah, it's just a snoozer season. Angela now and again is saying, well, why Thailand's a terrible season. Like, you can't have like dark humorous moments, honestly. There's definitely a couple aspects I do appreciate. about this season. I'll probably watch it, like Sheehan, the Fake Merge episode, and all the, and of course the Rob Z's Arthur season, which I totally forgot how compelling that actually was actually. But aside from that, again, Brian Ike was one of all time, boring, uninteresting, not funny. Again, people here are bland. It's just boring. Like there's a reason why people, even Jeff Probst even hates this season. Why everyone wants to get this season even exist, and for good reason. And for good reason. But yet, somehow this is on my number one. And now I know you must be asking, which season managed to be the number 1 worst? The number 1 worst season of Survivor. And like I said before, it's not, this is actually international season. And here's the interesting thing, honestly. Here's the interesting thing about number one, obviously, is that there's definitely a lot of problems you can say about my other seasons. Thing. I will say, there are definitely worst moments that happen throughout all my seasons that we talked about, obviously. Well, most of these seasons actually have worst and terrible moments that would be considered to be number one, obviously. But the reason why my number one is my number one worst is because this is the only Survivor season. Because, like I mentioned before, I can find positives in any Survivor season. I'm someone that always can find any positives in anything. And even the worst ones, like I mentioned before, at least have some fun moments and some good aspects, like I mentioned. But this is probably the only Survivor season I have ever watched. The true only season of Survivor that I can confidently say I have no positives to say about. I can't find any positives about the person that wins this season. I can't find any positive from any of the cast members or any fun character moments, any fun like blind sides because it's just like belonging, any challenges, hosts, production. I can't find a single positive thing to say about this season. I literally tried, honestly. I genuinely tried. I didn't remember this season was that bad when I first watched it. But like I said, I had to do my own sorry rewatch where I did rewatch this season. This season has gone so much worse into it. Again, it was just a boring slog. And that's what it's with me. I feel like I say boring a lot throughout the last few seasons, but this season is the definition of just a snooze fest. And what season is that, you may ask? Well, that season is Survivor UK Panama Season 2. Yes, the UK Season 2 is the worst Survivor season of all time. I don't think anything more from what I said earlier. And yeah, there's definitely a reason why Survivor UK at the how terrible season was, obviously. Took a while to get Season 3, which is definitely much better. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed me discussing my 10, pointing out the 10 worst seasons of Survivor. I would love to know down in the comment section what five seasons did you not enjoy the most? Which five seasons did you hate the most? I would love to know down in the comment section. Eventually, I do plan on doing a top 10 best at some point down the road, and eventually I might make the same thing with the winners and runners stuff as well. So stay tuned for those coming away very soon. I am Cinnamon World from Cinnamon Productions. I will see you next time as always. Stay cool about tea, and here's a little sprinkle of positivity your way. Peace.